I want to thank my patron, Benjamin Johnson, and thank my subscribers. If you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm responding to a comment from Discerus. He says, "You say there's no evidence for objective morality and that subjective morality fits everything we see. That's cute but deeply flawed. If morality is just how we feel about stuff, then torturing toddlers for sport isn't actually wrong. It's just unpopular in most cultures, like pineapple on pizza. But everyone instinctively knows some things are wrong, period. Not wrong for me or wrong for my tribe, just wrong. And the minute you say someone shouldn't do something, congratulations, you've just smuggled in an objective standard while pretending you don't believe in one. Subjective morality can't actually support moral outrage. It can only explain why people get mad, not whether they're right to be." Okay, so firstly, morality is much more than preference. It's deeply ingrained in who we are as people. And we don't all instinctively know that certain things are wrong. If we did, then people wouldn't do bad things. Discussing morality doesn't prove objective morality, it proves subjective morality. Your ability to say someone shouldn't do what they are doing proves that you and that person have the ability to disagree on moral thought. Explaining the way the world works doesn't have to give you a pat on the back about your beliefs. Your morality isn't the be-all end-all, and thinking it is incredibly arrogant. Then he says, "Now, science and religion. You claim science is the exact opposite of religion, which is historically and philosophically shallow. Modern science was born in a Christian cradle. Newton didn't invent calculus and then go, lol, there's no God. He literally wrote more about theology than physics. Why? Because he believed the universe was intelligible because it was made by a rational creator. Science is built on assumptions like the universe is orderly and our brains can understand it. Those aren't conclusions of science, they're prerequisites. If our minds are just meat computers running survival code, then trusting them to uncover deep cosmic truths is like trusting a cat to explain economics. Modern science was born in a Muslim cradle. I'm sorry, but Newton wasn't the first modern scientist. And science is built on questioning things. Religion, from Christianity to Islam to Shintoism, is about having faith. Our brains aren't meat computers running survival code. Our brains are nothing like computers, and our natural instincts are nothing like code. Also, it is our natural instinct to move around, explore, and be curious. That is why we do science. We want answers because that's a part of who we are as animals." Then he writes, "As for the Bible contradicting science, this is like criticizing Shakespeare for getting his astronomy wrong and Julius Caesar. The Bible isn't trying to tell you the chemical structure of light. It's trying to tell you where light comes from in the first place, and why you should care. Genesis isn't a peer-reviewed physics journal. It's an ancient text using rich, symbolic, theologically loaded language to say, hey, the universe isn't an accident. You were made on purpose, maybe act like it. The chemical structure of light? Light isn't a molecule. Moving on. Imagine if you were an all-loving, all-knowing, all-powerful God, and you had to write one book to convince as many people as possible you were real, so they didn't go to hell, ignoring the fact that you made hell on purpose. Would you make the book full of scientific inaccuracies, contradictions, lies, and ridiculous nonsense? Would you make it progress the human race forward in science, make it have a flawless plot, only talk about truths, and fill it with rational and logical events? Which is more convincing? Because I'll tell you which one the Bible is. Hint, it rhymes with the first one." Then he goes on. "Now to the whole atheism isn't a positive claim move. This is the magician's misdirection trick of modern debate. Saying I don't believe in God sounds passive until you realize the follow-up is, and everyone who does is wrong. That's a claim, and claims require reasons. The unicorn analogy doesn't work either. God is not some invisible skyhorse hiding behind Saturn. He's the explanation for why anything exists. That's not in the same category. God is necessary, not optional. If he doesn't exist, you need an alternative for logic, order, purpose, moral law in the universe itself. I just lack belief won't cut it once you start actually explaining things. Okay, fine. I define my unicorns as having created the universe. Now they're in the same category. Oh, you don't believe in unicorns? Well, that's just ridiculous. Atheism is not a positive claim. The Big Bang, evolution, etc. are positive claims, often held by skeptic atheists. Atheism itself is not a positive claim. The positive claim is that God exists. The negative claim is the inverse, that being that God does not exist. You think you can just tell me it's a positive claim and that God is necessary like I haven't heard these arguments before. You can't just say it's a positive claim and that God is necessary and hope that means you win the debate. No, atheists have responded to these claims several times and I won't be indulging you in this. Do half an hour of research into the subject. Seriously. For 2,000 years we've had answers to these supposed refutations. He continues, then there's the idea that God either deceived people in Genesis or the Israelites made it up. That's a false dilemma. The idea that God communicated complex spiritual truths in ways ancient people could grasp isn't deceitful. It's smart teaching. You don't drop Einstein's equations on a tribe with no written language and say, good luck. You give them big truths in accessible form. Expecting Genesis to read like a physics textbook is like getting mad at the Lion King because lions don't talk in real life. No, it's like getting mad at your mom for telling you when you were little that crossing the street without an adult made you explode. Genesis is so opposite of science, this argument doesn't work. He didn't just try to not confuse them, he straight up lied to them. Adam and Eve never existed, and they are the linchpin of the entire book. That is unexplainable and unacceptable. For them to be big truths, they'd have to be true. Then he says, now on to the Big Bang. This actually helps for the theist. For decades, materialists believed the universe was eternal because that avoided needing a cause. Then the Big Bang crashed the party and said actually time, space, and matter all had a beginning, which is awkward if your whole worldview depends on those being eternal. Saying there's no why to the universe, only how, is basically code for I'm not going to ask the big questions because I don't like the direction they're pointing. Sure, science tells us how things happen, but why is still on the table, and punting on that question is not intellectual humility, it's philosophical laziness. It's not lazy to say why and how are the same. If I ask you why someone died in a hurricane, you would say that they were there when the hurricane hit. If I ask you how, you would say it's because they were there when the hurricane hit. The hurricane didn't have a why, it just is, it just does. Why comes from consciousness, and you have to prove consciousness. The Big Bang Theory doesn't say that the universe had a beginning, it just discusses entropy having a beginning. The universe could have been in that imperceivably sized speck crammed together for eternity beforehand. The Big Bang Theory only explains why we observe the universe expanding. It's like saying that evolution helps to debunk continental drift because it tells us how the Earth formed. And then he says, to wrap it up, if there's no God, you're stuck with a universe that came from nothing, for no reason, run by chance, and destined for oblivion. But you still talk about meaning, morality, beauty, justice, and truth like they matter. That's not skepticism, that's using a theistic map to navigate an atheistic universe and wondering why the roads don't connect. If there's no God, we're stuck with a universe that acts exactly how we expect it to, and we talk about meaning, morality, beauty, justice, and truth because they matter to us. Believing in theism is like navigating an atheistic universe with a theistic map and wondering why the roads don't connect. Or put another way, reading a contradictory book and saying it's contradictionless. I hate to just repeat what you said, but really it's so perfect for describing your exact worldview. You look at an ancient desert book written by scientifically illiterate shepherds, no offense meant at all to the Jews, that patterns exactly how we would expect it to if it was a man-made book written by pre-scientific superstitious Middle Easterners, and try to claim it comes from an all-powerful God. Let us never forget Occam's razor. The solution that assumes the least is most likely to be correct. What does Christianity assume? 1. That there is a God. 2. That God is Yahweh. 3. That God sent his son to die for our sins. 4. That God wrote a book. 5. That book is the Holy Bible. 6. That we are all descendants of Adam and Eve. And so on and so forth. What does atheism assume? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. You might want to check out some other videos on my channel. I'd once again like to thank all my subscribers and Benjamin Johnson for being a patron. Have a good night, everyone.